If you strip the sport of ultra running down to its bones, past the gels and spreadsheets, past the carbon plates and live tracking, what you're left with is one simple question. How far can a human being go when there's nothing left to give? And standing at the front of that question in the cold blue dawn of the high mountains is Courtney Dauwalter, smiling beneath mirrored sunglasses, wearing basketball shorts that flap like flags of joyful rebellion. Her story doesn't begin at a finish line in Chamonix or amid the roar of thousands pressed against barricades. It begins in a place far quieter, a daydream. Courtney sometimes imagines herself stepping into a wagon train headed west, rattling across the American continent with nothing but grit and possibility. No jeeps, no ultralight gear, just the raw idea of challenge. The question she asks isn't whether she'd survive, but how far she'd push once the Rocky Mountains rose like a wall in front of her. Would she stop at the foothills and call it good, or look at the jagged skyline and whisper, "What's on the other side?" That instinct to keep going when the terrain sharpens, when the world says that's enough, is the thread that runs through her entire life. And it is the reason she is, without argument, the greatest female ultrarunner the sport has ever seen. She trains above 10,000 feet in Leadville, Colorado, where the air is thin and the mountains lean and close. When she returned home after a 4-hour morning run, pink sparkling water in hand, she talked about limits the way a scientist might talk about undiscovered planets, not as barriers but as invitations. Curiosity is her fuel. Curiosity about pain. Curiosity about potential. Curiosity about how the body can be convinced through stubborn joy to keep moving long after logic taps out. Over the last decade, her record has stretched from impressive to almost mythic. Back in 2016, she shattered the course record at the Javelina 100, running through the exposed Arizona desert in the kind of heat that melts resolve. That same year, at Run Rabbit Run in Colorado, she won by 75 minutes despite going partially blind for the last 12 miles. She could see only a thin, foggy sliver, just enough to make out her feet. Most runners would panic. Courtney improvised and kept going. From there, the trajectory steepened. Western States in 2018, victory on her first try. UTMB the following year, another win, and a course record. In 2022, she ran the 166.9-mile collegiate loop trail in the mountains around her home, clocking the fastest known time. Then came Hardrock, one of the most brutal high-altitude races on the planet, where she not only won but set a new standard for what a women's course record can be. But maps can't fully explain the gravity of what she's done, nor can numbers. They don't capture the grin she carries deep into the pain cave, or the way she moves through competition as if the trail itself is nudging her forward. They don't describe how, in 2017, she won the Moab 240, a race longer than driving from Los Angeles to Las Vegas by 10 hours, or how she covered 283 miles at Big's Backyard Ultra, moving like a metronome powered by will. And yet, incredibly, the summers that followed became even more astonishing. In 2023, she returned to Western States and obliterated the women's course record by more than an hour, finishing 6th overall. When she passed one of the top male runners, Jeff Colt, he remembers his pacer turning to him, wide-eyed, and saying, "Jeff, I can't even keep up with her right now." 20 days later, she stepped to the Hardrock start line again. Another win. Another course record. This time in the opposite direction of the previous year. Both directions conquered. Both directions rewritten. Then in late August, she went to France to stand beneath the shadow of Mont Blanc again. UTMB, the crown jewel. The race that chews through legends. She led from the first steps, held the lead through the long black hours, and finished more than an hour ahead of the next woman, becoming the first person in history, man or woman, to win Western States, Hardrock, and UTMB in the same summer. Athletes who have shared start lines with her still struggle to describe it. Some call it transcendent. Others say it breaks their understanding of what humans can endure. When she ran down the final stretch into Chamonix, cameras swarmed her, as if hoping to catch whatever alchemy keeps her moving. She didn't raise her arms or pound her chest. Instead, she clapped back toward the crowd, an exchange of gratitude between a runner who just did something impossible and the people who watched her do it. Then, after hugging her parents and her husband Kevin, she jogged back down the chute to high-five hundreds of fans, because joy to Courtney is part of the job. Her strength was not forged only on ridge lines or finish lines. It began in Minnesota, where winters bite hard and cold teaches you how to push forward without drama. As a kid in the Minneapolis suburbs, she played soccer, built tree forts, invented games in the park. She joined cross-country running in 7th grade, then Nordic skiing in 8th. At first, she could barely stay upright on skis, but by high school, she'd become a 4-time state champion, eventually earning a skiing scholarship to the University of Denver. Her parents, who now crew many of her big races, taught her the simple philosophy she still carries: work hard, give everything, don't forget to have fun. And Minnesota winters taught her another truth: that discomfort is not an emergency. It's just a companion. One of her cross-country coaches helped shape her relationship with pain. He taught her that the body has more gears than the mind admits, and that the first wave of discomfort is just a suggestion, not a verdict. That lesson became part of her foundation: the understanding that suffering can be navigated with curiosity rather than fear. After college, she taught science to middle and high school students in Denver. That's where she met Kevin, a software engineer and competitive runner himself. They trained together. They raced together. They supported each other through early mornings, long nights, and endless miles. When she raced, he became the spreadsheet brain, mapping splits, organizing aid stations, guiding the logistical chaos. She was the tie-dye brain, the creative endurance engine who understood effort as an art form. Kevin jokes that he knows exactly when she's taken up residence in the pain cave. When that happens, his job is simple: bring snacks, bring encouragement, bring presence. Once, during a race, he blew a tire while carrying everything she needed. He sprinted 3 miles to make it to her aid station in time. Their partnership is its own kind of endurance story, one built on grit and loyalty, pacing and being paced. As Courtney began winning more races and the podium stacked up, she and Kevin had long talks about what they wanted life to look like. She loved teaching. She loved her students, but they both knew there was something growing, a question she would later regret not exploring. So in 2017, without sponsorship, without guarantees, she left teaching to pursue running full-time. Not because she knew she would become the greatest, but because she needed to find out how far she could go. That same year, Mike Ambrose at Salomon offered her first sponsorship. She was still new, still learning, but he saw something unmistakable: a huge aerobic engine from skiing, an almost unbelievable 24-hour performance, and underneath it all, a mind wired to push, a curiosity deeper than ambition. This is what makes Courtney Dauwalter so fast. It's not just physiology, although that matters. It's not just training at altitude or years of skiing. It's not even that she can suffer more than others, though she can. What sets her apart is how she meets suffering: with interest, with kindness, with almost childlike fascination. She doesn't run away from the pain cave. She decorates it. She doesn't fear the edge of her ability. She walks right up to it, smiles, and asks what's beyond it. And maybe that's why, when she imagines that wagon crossing the plains toward the Rockies, she doesn't picture fear or fatigue. She pictures the moment she sees those mountains rise and feels curiosity spark, bright and playful, as if the world is inviting her to explore. Because for Courtney Dauwalter, the question isn't how much the body can take. The question is how much possibility it contains. And every time she laces her shoes, every time she steps into the thin mountain air and watches the trail unwind in front of her, she chases that same quiet truth: there is always another side to the mountains, and she is here to find it,